Okay, everybody, what is going on? Good afternoon. Game day is upon us. Game kicks off in just a few hours here. Preseason game number 2, and courtesy of Greg Bell with an article he posted up earlier this morning, we now have some details of what we can expect tonight. So we're going to go through this article, going to go through some of the highlights here, and basically just check out what is going on in terms of who's going to play, who's not going to play, and some rough idea of what the stakes are. This video is sponsored by Prize Picks. So first of all, the big headline from this article, and in fact, you see it in the headline, is the status of Jadarian Price. Jadarian Price will not play in this game. Oop, sorry. Didn't mean to let that video audio play. So many videos audio playing. It's unbelievable. But yeah, Jadarian Price will not be playing, which that was the one starter who I thought might have a chance to play significant snaps today, but not to be. So Jadarian Price not going to play against the Titans, also not going to play against the Chiefs next week. So it looks like Jadarian Price is going to hit the ground running in the regular season. We are not going to let him get reps in any preseason game until, well, we're not in any preseason game, and then we're going to let him hit the ground running in the regular season, which is a little bit unconventional. But when you think about it, it does make some degree of sense, for sure. We've already got an injury to Zach Charbonnet. I believe Emmanuel Wilson is working through an injury as well. We cannot afford to be losing another valuable running back before the regular season starts. Right now, if Price got hurt, the only starting caliber or really NFL roster caliber running back we would have would be George Holani, and then maybe you could squeeze something decent out of a guy like Jacardia Wright. So, according to this article, both McDonald and Schneider say they've seen enough of Price in practice. So it doesn't sound like this is motivated by Price being currently injured or anything. It's more of a, he's still ramping up a little bit after the injury he previously had, the soreness, and they don't want to take any chances here. They don't want to mess around with a player they know they're going to have to lean on fairly heavily to start the season, especially knowing that he's worked really hard in practice. We've been running him with the 1s and the 2s and the 3s, and they feel like they have a good enough feel for what he can do and what he is. I've seen enough of Price's speed, decisiveness in cutting, and pass catching to know what they have, basically. And it's a little unconventional, but again, I think it makes some sense. Nevertheless, remember, Price did also miss the mock game in Lumen Field, so it is a little bit atypical to just say, okay, we're going to go straight from practice to a real regular season game. It is worth noting that the Titans were definitely going at it hard in that joint practice on Friday, and it sounds like they're going to be going at it pretty hard tonight because they're going to be playing their starters. So when you kind of map that out in your head, you're like, okay, you're going to be playing your backups because we already know that most of our backups are going to play offensive line, receivers, quarterbacks, tight ends, etc. And the Titans are going to be playing some of their starters. Throwing Jadarian Price out there in that lineup with your backups against their starters, that is kind of playing with fire. So I don't know if that would be better than giving Price a little bit of run. So when you put it all up, it makes a pretty decent amount of sense. And again, he is still coming back from the soreness he had a couple weeks ago. All right, guys, let's take a quick break here to talk a little bit about Prize Picks, currently the #1 sports pick app in America. The app is very easy to use. Check it out to my left here. You can do player picks, where you just pick more or less on a few player stats and lock in your lineup. Or you can pick teams, where you pick winners, spread, or total on any game or fight. The app is available in most states, including California, Texas, and Florida. Right now, they have a great offer. You can play your first $5 lineup and get $150 in lineups if you win. All you have to do is use code HMA when you sign up. It's a brand new offer. Best time possible to get on the app. So get on over there and get to winning that first lineup. So remember, Prize Picks, code HMA. Download the app today, and remember to always gamble responsibly. That's the big one from this article, and that's going to be disappointing for some people because I think a lot of us want to see Jadarian Price play. But it's important to keep in mind here that for the most part, pretty much everything we've heard about him in camp has been positive. And on some level, the fact that they're able to do this speaks to the fact that they like what they saw from him in camp and believe they can get away with not playing him in the preseason at all. All right, so that's the big thing, but there is some other stuff from this article worth taking a look at. Like I said a moment ago, no starters or almost no starters on offense or defense are going to play in this game, like JSN, Darnold, Witherspoon, Leonard Williams, Lawrence, Ernest Jones. I would expect the offensive line as well. None of them are expected to see game action until September 9th, which is the first regular season game, of course. Now, maybe we'll see some of them against the Chiefs, but it seems like we're going light. And obviously, look, if we come out in that week 1 game and we look kind of like how we did in the week 1 game last year against the Niners, where things just didn't get off to a great start and it felt like you were in second gear, then that's going to be questioned a little bit. But this team is committing to what it seems like they're committing to a strategy of not playing their key guys any more than they absolutely have to. And right now, I think we got to rock with what they think is right, because what they think is right has come out to be right a lot lately. I would be a little bit surprised if we didn't see any starters against the Chiefs at least, but tonight, just to kind of get through this game before we start thinking about the next game, I would be surprised if you saw any notable players except for like Michael Dixon and Jason Myers. All right, so that's one of the big ones. The quarterback plan. We did get information about the quarterback plan from this article. Drew Lock is going to play the first half. Milroe is going to play the second half. So no rotation. It's just going to be Lock in the first half, Milroe in the second half. Now, I think that's going to be frustrating for a lot of people because what that probably means is Jalen Milroe will play with the third stringers exclusively. So there are probably going to be some bad penalties, probably going to be some really bad mistakes by the offensive line, might be some drops, might be just generally speaking some bad stuff from Jalen Milroe's teammates, because the third stringers are mostly guys that are not expected to make the team, with some exceptions, of course. But I wouldn't necessarily expect the crew that he's going to be working with to, by and large, make the team. So you're going to see bad stuff happen, and you're probably going to say, man, I'd really like to see Milroe with some competent teammates out there with him. I'd like to see him with a good offensive line. I'd like to see him with some better receivers. Doesn't seem like we're getting that this week. So it might be another kind of incomplete picture on what Jalen Milroe can offer at the NFL level right now, and that is obnoxious because we're trying to figure it out, and we may not have very many more opportunities to figure it out. And I know that a lot of people are going to say, well, we already know what Drew Lock is. We already know what we're getting there, but this team seems pretty dead set on ramping him up the normal way. So yeah, a little bit frustrating there, I can't lie. But expect Drew Lock in the first half and Milroe in the second half, and Milroe's going to have to do stuff with a third unit that may not be able to really hold up their end of the bargain. Okay, moving on from that, though, another thing that this article gets into is the defensive back battle, and he actually had a lot of interesting things to say here as well, so I want to spend some time on this, because it's going to take a little bit of time and effort to decipher all this. They're trying to decide on the third cornerback spot, because third corner is obviously important in McDonald's defense. However, this implies that Nick Eamon-Warri's not going to be ready to start the season. And as you read the rest of this article, that seems to be the implication that Greg Bell is putting out there. Now, I think it's probably correct to assume that Eamon-Warri isn't ready for the regular season, so you can prepare to play a game or two without him. But I don't know if that's actually the case or not. Again, he is making progress on his rehab. He is working through stuff. We know he's getting better every day, but it's not clear because we haven't been given any kind of a timetable on him being able to get back on the field. So it sounds to me, based on this, that they are preparing for at least some time without Nick Eamon-Warri. We'll see if that holds. Veteran Igbinoghene and Nehemiah Pritchett are alternating at nickel against the Titans starting offense in the first half. And whoever plays better Sunday will have the inside track to win that job. Now, if Worry's ready to go, then presumably what this means is inside track to win the backup job behind Worry. But note the language being used here. It sounds like he's talking about the starting job. That's at least what I take away from this. So it seems to be implied that Worry will not be available to start the season. Now, I'm a little bit surprised that Nehemiah Pritchett is getting involved in the nickel battle, because to me, Nehemiah Pritchett is an outside corner. And if you're playing Nehemiah Pritchett at nickel, you're probably better off bumping Witherspoon to the slot for a little bit and letting Pritchett play on the outside. Igbinoghene, however, being a smaller and shorter and not quite as fast corner, his game might be more nickel-ish. So I could see that a little bit more. But it's a little bit surprising to me that Pritchett is apparently in the conversation for nickel corner. And then you have the Trevon Diggs thing, which gets mentioned here. We limited him to position drills on Friday, which was the joint practice against the Titans. But according to this article, there does seem to be some kind of a belief that he can compete for some kind of a job here with this team. Maybe he'll be in football condition enough to play in the Friday game against Kansas City. Hasn't played a full season since 2022. But apparently, according to this, McDonald, Byrd, and Carl Scott see Diggs as fitting the match coverage style the head coach has his outside cornerbacks playing. So this is kind of the money shot right here. If Diggs can play on the outside, Witherspoon moves inside to nickel, and then Witherspoon can be used to blitz and affect more of the field. So again, there's kind of that implication that Worry's not going to be ready to start the season if you read between the lines. And again, even if he is, it's not a bad idea to figure out what your contingency plan is, because Worry could get hurt again later. You could find yourself in a place where you need Worry later in the season, and it sounds like they're trying to at least work out what they would do. And if Trevon Diggs gets to a point where we feel like we can start him on the outside, then that would be a tremendous value get, given the fact that we paid him the veteran minimum and didn't have to trade for him or anything. Granted, playing Trevon Diggs comes with some problems, don't get me wrong, but I do note that this is a pretty optimistic take on what Trevon Diggs can offer. And then they get into the Terrion Arnold stuff. Let's see here. The hope for Terrion Arnold is to be able to play mid to late season. And even if he can't play this season, they retain his rights going forward. Again, there's a lot we don't know here. I can only speculate so much on the Terrion Arnold situation with the information that we have. But sounds like they're hoping that he's late season reinforcement, which, hey, that'd be awesome. No problem with that. Arnold has the outside coverage skills that, like Diggs, match how McDonald wants his outside corners to play, and would enable Witherspoon to move back inside to nickel more. Again, not really mentioning Worry here, acting as if there is going to be some period of time where he's not going to be on the field. And here, near the bottom of the article here, right near the very end here, he talks about maybe having Igbinoghene as the nickel as a stopgap. So, and it does point out that he played nickel cornerback for the Commanders in 2023, and previously he had played outside, so he has experience doing both. And then you see here, if Pritchett wins the job by improving his tackling Sunday night, he would most likely play outside with Witherspoon inside at nickel to begin the season. So that's kind of what I was talking about earlier, where I was saying maybe you'd want to play Pritchett on the outside instead of inside. I think that's probably a little more in line with his skill set. But again, the assumption of no Worry to start the season. We'll see if that ends up bearing out, but that's one of the big takeaways from this article for me. It is talking as if Worry will not be ready to go, and that they are trying to find another solution for the short term. All right, so that is what to expect tonight and what to expect going forward. So great article, by the way, over on the News Tribune. I'll link it in the description, and I will see you guys later. Go Hawks. Everybody have a great rest of your day. I'll be posting another article after the game. Maybe another video between now and, or excuse me, posting a video after the game. Might be another video between now and when the game starts. I'm not sure, but yeah, see you guys. Go Hawks.